All right, party people in the house. Tale of two bugs. Numero uno, numero dos. Dos being two, second best, the donor car. We started off by chopping the windshield off of this white car, transplanting it onto the current project, and I think it looks a lot better. I don't know what to say. We're working on the Le Mans inspired Volkswagen Bug. It's got to look streamlined. It's getting better. Having a huge problem with these side windows. The relationship from the windshield height before to where it is now is improved, but these side openings are still freaking me out, man. When are we going to get it right? Maybe today. Look at the side profile on this beauty. Maybe we cut more off, add it to that. We might not even have to paint it. Look, the car's turning white right before our very eyes. Let's put some more white paint in this area. See how it looks at the end of this show. Let's cut some cars. Welcome back in. I just want to say before we start, I always have a little something to talk about. And while I'm sitting here ruminating, I gotta say, without you, the community, the viewing people of this channel, none of this would have happened. I guarantee you, none of this would have happened. From the crazy projects to the development through the different shops, etc. Entertainment like this doesn't exist without an audience. Thank you again and again and again. I am living my best freaking life I could ever have imagined. Let's talk about cars. This thing. Remember the windows? I went over this so many times, reiterated the roof, reiterated the window lines. This looks way more streamlined. To the community that said, what are you doing? So this is what I'm doing. I fixed it, okay? It's used to round up and around. And now it does have a better look, but we need to make this Mercury roof jive with the back to the VW A-pillar style. So I thought I'll just take those doors and splice them in here and see what's up. This transition, because the Mercury was a much bigger car, so this transition, you remember, I hammered the heck out of that. What if we could take some of the Volkswagen side windows, etc., and just recreate all this mess in a simpler, more defined line? Let me talk about this for a second. You may be asking if that is a flying saucer docked in the shop. The answer is yes. That's the trike project. That's another video. Check it out. Look how cool this looks. It's almost as if a factory designer created that. Now look at this. It's almost as if a maddened fabricator with a hatchet and a blowtorch created this. Let's try to tighten it up. Try to tighten everything up on this project. I'm going to cut this white car once again. We're going to compare. I think in the interest of just saving sheet metal, I'm going to cut the door whole top off. Just bring it over here because we might continue that window portion onto the other car as well. Let's check it out. It's a breezy 75 degrees in the shop today. If that's the hissing you hear in the background, the fans are on number 5. I might not even break a sweat. Remember what Mr. Winfield told us. When you're gonna cut the cars, save all the pieces and think about the important stuff like these curves. You might need them somewhere else. So we're gonna cut through the straight parts. It's very important as a cameraman to capture the ghost, the banner, the art, and the vehicle. See, this was part of the problem. The windshield used to look like it was up here, and this side window looked like it was down here. And that's because By tilting that up, it raised it up on top of the cowl. It looks a lot better. And this natural Volkswagen curve helps that transition into it. That was the problem here. Let's cut this off. And one thing to always focus on is, especially in critiques and in conversation, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'll say it again. It's an evolving thing, baby. We got that window shimmed up with a piece of steel, so I like this opening. That side opening, we can just keep messing with it. Not on no timeline. Trying to win a prize, impress somebody. It's the joy of fabrication. Oh, and what a joy it is. In the bougiest workshop ever. That's right. I just said it. Painted walls. Blow mold gallery. Speaking of blow molds, I'd like to thank two of our very generous viewers for adding a couple other specimens to the gallery. I mean, who doesn't need pink flamingos, right? Very generous couple from somewhere in Massachusetts. We'll have to give credit to them. So we'll get these guys positioned up on the rack to join the crew. If you're unfamiliar with our blow mold fascination, it's because it's basically ridiculous. So we're going to outfit this wall of the shop. Our cast of characters will be witnessing the events. Right? Now, I mean, isn't that a good-looking group? Remember that movie with Gene Wilder? A little nonsense now and then is cherished by the wisest men. I can get one of those Billy Bass, those rubber animatronic fish that hangs on the wall and sings. Forget about it. Forget about it. We wouldn't be able to keep the tourists out of here. Got to cut that, having some interference. Now, I'm not going to mess with the door just yet. It's not on its armature. We're working with the roof. This door surround will not be attached to this. Let's see, now we can guesstimate. Right? Maybe we bring the door up to that. It looks so much better. Let me cut this off just about. We're doing the chop top. Place these two together. Man, it looks good. Man, that really helps. What do I have to just line that up? I know, the Sawzall blade I just ruined. Huh, look at that. So this is what I'm describing. Man, I shouldn't have cut it off the door. What am I doing? So see what I did here? The body trim line came through that indent. It's right here. I deleted that. So this is the actual door top. So yeah, it would look really cool with this up here, but that window's gonna be tiny on the side. I think it's gonna add to the side profile of this, and I don't know if we want that. I think we should sink this in. Let's just work on the outside of this for the moment. I'm gonna slice this right in half. We'll have two sides, inner and outer, to work with. Yeah, let's just place this on. I'm gonna tack it to here even though it's not gonna stay. Or maybe it should, because it could. Yeah, let me just cut this off and see. See, this is the problem. If I had 10 of these cars, I'd be refining. I always say that, right? It's the prototype that it's the prototype that has the most waste. Like this front, you know, it could be, you could pop a mold on this and create a carbon fiber version of this if you made a mold. But truly, when we moved out of Mojave, all the pieces of this car got scattered. It was really frustrating. I didn't know where anything ended up. You remember in the back of the shop at the ranch, all this stuff was in a pile. I had a couple different teams of people collecting and removing scrap, and somewhere in the mix, all this stuff disappeared. And, you know, by no fault of the people helping me, it was just I was so disorganized. It all just looked like junk metal. Which, I mean, it is without the precision of a skilled fabricator repurposing things. God, we want to take that way down. How much though? Damn, we want to match that to that. Does that make that look too low? I hate to keep adding metal to this also, making the door heavier and heavier. Well, it's not, it's just a tube. Psyching myself out. It looks so good like that. Let's cut this top and just see. We might just bring the door up. Some other folks mentioned maybe do the style windows in here like the Volkswagen bus, so you don't have to worry about a roll-up mechanism. Maybe it's just glass and it slides. And then they could just live in the door, showing they'll never roll down. They'll just slide open. So see, this comes together pretty good right there. But it bothers me how much of this drops. I think that's what we've been struggling with this whole project, is the different contours of things. And this is wider physically than here. I don't know if you can gauge that, but this is out quite a bit. We might have to cut this tube out of here. Let's try this. Am I just making a mess out of things or what? Okay, I'm looking at this and I see the apex of the curve. It's joining this car perfectly right here. When I say car, it's joining what is existing on the car because it's doing kind of an arch. But I see it really coming together right here. Let's cut that. And then we're going to cut out the inside structure of this. And we're going to try to tag the skins together. Even if I have to take this tube out, it's a lot to talk. It's a lot of yammering on, but let's just follow through. Okay, so what I'm getting at is, you'll see in a minute when I cut this thing, I got a tube as a border for the window, whereas this would be a better border, in simple terms. So let's just say, I'm gonna use this as a stopping point. So let's cut this structure from here. We're only going to leave this outside skin from here to here because that's going to tack onto the mercury. This structure is going to disappear, or do we leave that structure? Yes, let's do that. I'm just going to cut this lip off. This episode is brought to you by the term chaos, where I don't know what I'm doing. So I took this little edge off. That this can overlap this. Take a little bit more. So let's take the corner off of this. Now if I take this tube out, that could clip in. We have different thicknesses of cutting discs, and these are a less expensive brand, and they don't cut as precise. These little nasty guys do the work. So let's just take this now, and we're going to want to just take off this. As I mentioned, there's a tube in here, and I see I haven't cut all the way through that. 1-inch 16 gauge tube for support. So that's the structure. That's the structure that this was providing prior to that weird idea. Yeah, look, see? Starting to come in. Starting to come into focus. Now, we want to bring this up and at them like that. Yes. So let me peel the paint off this. Do a little more work right here. That was double walled. We didn't need that thickness lapping. Yeah, see, it's starting to really show something. You know what I'm saying? Little by little by little. That actually works. Yeah, that will actually transition. We want that to be just down right there. We can pull this in like that and then it lines up. What do we put this inside? How is that? Oh, there it is. It's got to go inside just like that. What I'm trying to do is puff this up. See how it changes right here? Trying to get that just in line so I could splice in. Then we're going to eliminate this drip rail eventually, so this piece will just finish that. Because we don't have this indent in the roof on here, so we have to fill up this area. Yeah, by slipping this just inside, it gives a better grab on the inside, and then this line is perfect. And I could put a piece of structural right inside there. Because there's a good tube, and I could just put in a big hunk of steel to grab both of these. I think that's our go. Right there. Yep, because when I push this up to decrease this gap, it brings these two into position. Let's clear the paint off this. Starting to feel it. Starting to get a flow. Always starts with a giant question mark and ends up with something you want to redo in the morning. Doesn't it? Not really sure how this is going to work out, so let's just focus on this window opening first, and then we'll work on that. This week is going to be a bit of a compromise, sort of like the last spurt of videos, because I got to go back. Today's Tuesday. Friday I'll be traveling back to get the last tool trailer. So I'll have my workbench, the ring roller to work on the UFO, and a few other items of value. That's why we're looking extremely light and compromised in the workshop. Little by little, we're getting the move. Really want to make that one count because we're going to use that as a leverage point. Take this now. This. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We turn this heat down a bit. And I wish I had a tiny little clamp, but I don't. I have to use my fingers and hope for the best. Right, I don't know how well you can register this, but this is high and this is low. So by pushing this in, it's going to bring them into sync. Like this, right there. We don't want to tack that, so we got to put the corners in. Let's just hold off 1 second. I'm going to have to cut this back now. This looks great, but this is way too far out. All right, Sawzall to the rescue. We got to take this structure back. Or do we just clamp it really bad? You know what I think we might do? Let's work on this, and then we'll fix this. Always an option. Let's try to tie these corners in. As I mentioned, I'll weld the door shut for the moment. Do we want that, or do we want to bring it down? Let's bring it down to the tops of these holes. You know what I'm saying? I think that looks cool. Just a little compromise. This will just roll out. Yep. Let's take off this paint. Okay. Starting to look like something. This line's a lot better. This line is messed up. Got to get in there with the Sawzall and take this pointed piece out. Let's see if we can do a little look at this. All right. This is what's concerning me right here, the rock and the roll. So you got this little dip. There's a body line in the VW here, so that's definitely low. That's what I was saying. Our piece is going to come down to here. But we got to transition that. I just think this is too high. There's a piece of pipe sticking out right there. I'll go in with my weapon. Like so. There it is. Yeah, just like that. All right, so let's take this drip rail off with the saw. Now let's do it with the disc. We're gonna take this off too, but I'm not trying to weaken this whole thing. We know that this is gonna flow down to about this tack weld right onto the door frame. Nope, we don't need to take the drip rail off. We can stay right inside with the patch. And that will give us this perfect matchup. So the door is gonna open this way. It's still gonna slide out. Probably gonna slice this and butt weld it through here, but we're gonna have to take this pane off. The body line ends, that indent stops right here. Ah yes, and like most of these cars, an ample amount of body filler. Just like the way I do it. Just gonna give this a good club with a brass hammer. Sweet, so I wonder if we should cut the dome of that car into this shape. No, I hate to mess with that. We can just do this with a flat piece of sheet. I'm gonna put a clamp on this. Let's reach in to where they're touching. Establish that in the best of ways. A little more pressure. Yeah, so I'm looking at this and I could see it's gonna need some work. I don't have an English wheel, but I do have some paper templates. We might be able to hog this off the back of the car where the roof section or where the window section is. That would be pretty interesting. You get a paper on this real quick. So I was trying to get that in the frame. This is up. So when we put the paper on it, we might be able to just shrink this and round this a little bit and just drop this right down. This looks good. Let's get a straight line. Oh, let's just use this as a straight line. Here to there, that looks decent. And this, just feel it out. See what this wants to do. That's a pretty decent guesstimation. Then we're gonna want to stay off the windshield. I'm using my finger as a guide inside the window channel. It's funny, in the past, some of our older videos was really getting into the welding heat that I've used and the wire speed and all that. So if you have any questions about this, feel free. It's just, I think our audience now, we do have new viewers, which is why I'm bringing this up. So, the familiars kind of, I imagine, know for this welder, what I'm doing is like 16 to 17 volts, and the wire speed on my machine is 230. Typically, I keep it in that realm. So if you're not that familiar and you got questions, that's what we're here for. We respond to comments. You're here to engage. Yeah, see? So that'll just finish that up nice. Mostly taking this dip, if you could see that. It's very flat, that's very round. So let's put this on the car and see, because we want that hard turn. And right next to the rear window, it offers that. Does it not? It does. Super cool. And I do love to keep as much of these domes as possible, but I think we're gonna give this one up because we need two of these, one for this side and one for the other. So we're gonna sacrifice this lovely dome for the cause. I paid $150 for the car. I gotta get my money's worth. So I'm just gonna trace the other one out as well, but I'm not gonna cut it out of the car because we might need a slightly different shape. You know how it goes, things change. It's got a Wild West feel. It could be a pretty cool mural. So I'm just gonna trace this. You can see what happened here. Somebody used this for rust repair already. These VWs are prone to rusting around the window gaskets. And if you know the car, you know that's what they did. They took that corner right out, stuck it in another one. Now, if you didn't have another car, another Volkswagen, you could have a flat sheet of steel with a sandbag and an English wheel and dollies and all that other fun stuff, but I got the car. Just gonna cut it right out. Why isn't this coming out? These aren't attached to anything else. Maybe there's something glued to it. Oh yeah, there's a headliner glued in there. That's what's smoking. I was like, wait a second. There's no mechanical connection in there. No, this is glued to a nice piece of foam. It's probably pretty quiet in there. It's a good idea. All right, let me clean up all this crud. But see, it's got a compound curve. That's what I was getting at. It's going to fit so much nicer than a flat sheet. Interesting how much filler's on this roof panel, but if you consider it, like, these cars are older than me. Look at the dents and dings that this unit's got. Circa 1970. That's a 64, 65, and this is a 68. Whew, no wonder they've seen some stuff. Oh yes, I like it. I like it a lot. It's gonna need some trimming with those snips. And it's gonna need a few more clamps. Let me go out. Okay, I got a stack of clamps. Got this piece of sheet. Let's see what we can make happen. Make some magic. It's crazy. I mentioned Gene Winfield earlier. The man lived without, like, he didn't wear glasses to his old age. Really interesting. And I'm here with the reading glasses. I'm 55. Like, what am I doing? I was just thinking that because I was looking here and I'm like, oh, I should grab my glasses. It's become my first instinct. But I could see. I'm telling you, I could see. So there's a little gap right here, but I'm going to utilize the shrink of the steel to pull that down tight. That's going to be a butt weld, I've decided. These will be laps. Yeah, it's totally going to work. Groovy. So let's start here, then we're going to work up. We're going to grab it really tight so that nothing changes shape. We're going to roll it out, paying attention to how this is all coming together. Welders on. Glasses on. Gloves on. We got a ground on the running board. That should be working. Let's double check. Got our heat down very low. It's down at 14 right now, which is extremely low. We're gonna get some spitting back. I'd rather have that than it burning through. Let's pop a weld on this and see what happens. All right, what do we got? It's gonna work. Yep, it pops, but it's there. Yep, now we're committed. This thing is locked in. It's eliminated that indent where the body line in the bug roof is. Also adding a little bit of strength right here where the chop top comes together. While we're here and I'm going to be leveraging this, let me just, I'm going to connect this hard. That way none of that changes. Get a full lock on that. Cool. So now as I put leverage into this, this will all stay put. Let me just hit this. I'm going to tack it right here for the moment. Even though that'll get cut out, that'll just keep this all locked. I'm gonna have to apply some pretty decent pressure. Or maybe not. Look at this. It's just pushed in. Amazing. Wow. Okay, let's clamp this. That's interesting. That little bit of compound curve from the actual roof starts to draw this in the best of ways. Oh, look at this. Interesting. If I get this thing super tight, like I mean full claw, and push this, right? Hi-ya. Hear that? Clamped and came back open. It's gonna be perfect. We want a ton of stress in here. It's gonna make it really strong. Hi-ya. There it went. Awesome. Tighten it up. Hi-ya. There it is right there. Ooh, Ooh, it's gotta be tighter. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oof. There's some stuff in there. It's the old structure. Okay, I think this will still work. This is locked. I'm gonna pin these two right here. This is gonna have to be shrunk, and then this is gonna have to come together. So let's work where we got it. Bit of a critical moment, so try to zoom in here. So I'm gonna attempt to use the welding to shrink this. So I'm gonna heat this pretty good right through here. I'm gonna actually weld a bead through tacks. I don't usually try to heat the sheet metal up, but in this case, I want that big strong tack. So I could put a little cup shape under there, a dolly, and shrink that, then grind the top off. Yeah. See, yeah, that's sticking up. I don't know if we'll focus on that first. Let's try to get this dome in place. Yeah, see that? As I push, this is gonna lock it. I'm gonna bring this right through. I don't even think I need to clamp it. Let me hammer. Of course, the body hammer is MIA at the moment, but I got a slapper. Crowbar, rather. Just gonna follow this weld across and start to shrink up that dome. Now, if you do this wrong, you could just freak out the whole roof skid. You don't do this where there's like the oil can scenario where it's like ding, ding, you can go up or down. This is purely to shrink. Now right here, we're gonna end up low if we keep doing that. So I'm just gonna follow right through. I'm looking at this. That is just perfect. So let's do a couple more. That's part of it, like you don't wanna rush. That's where things start to warp. So right about there is where the shrink is going to end. So let's hit this together right here. Got 3 good knocks on that. Now we're going to slice this to fit. So I'm thinking we want to pay attention to this dome first. And we can hammer this because it's got something under it. So we'll just pull that down with the body hammer. So this is ramped up considerably right here. So I think I'm gonna get the cutting disc. I'm holding this down, just looking. I'm gonna just draw a straight line to this other piece. You'll see it in a minute. Yeah, just like that. So I'll take the cutting disc, I'm gonna cut through both panels right at that line, then draw it together. I just put a clamp on the end of this so that they're touching. You don't need it super tight. Part of the problem is there's an interior structure that's bumping into this clamp, so just clamp it fat right here, thick side of things. Clamp will probably fall out while I'm cutting it too, but that's where we're at. It's a curved shape in there. Bring this clamp together. Groovy. Locking out right now. Doesn't always go this way. Oh yeah, 100%. Awesome. This is a little bit weird, but I'm gonna put a razor blade in there and just adjust it. If you don't understand what I just said, I take a razor blade because they're thin and they're tempered, they're strong. So you can put it in between this gap I just cut and you can lever the level of the steel. It's just a little tool. All right. So you get those lined up, you take it out. And really, you just feel it. You'll know when one's higher. here. That's gonna need a little hammering. So you need a little leverage right there. Don't get carried away. You got your whole life ahead of you. Don't rush on this, especially with a dome. Speed through it, you're gonna make a mess. I'm telling you. I know from experience. Sweet. That feels a little bit high. Let's get something to knock it into shape. So this has a little curve. I'll put this right under here. Use that. There it is. That's nice. You have to tack it, shrink it, bring it in. So see how I short circuit that for first timers? I got a little bead I laid right there. Now there's a little bead on the end of the tip. That will allow you to fill this gap without burning through. You're gonna weld that bead and turn it liquid. And boom, it just grabs on. That's one to grow on. So once you got that bead in there, couple taps, bring it right into shape. Gonna short circuit it. Drop the steel. Just like that. This is looking really clean. Now, I mentioned we don't have an ability to clamp in here because there's a second layer panel. So let's just use this. Use the point of this for extreme pressure. Yep. We'll lock that. This is pretty curved. That feels good. Heavy pressure right there. Yep. Uh-oh. Welder just stopped. I mean, the helmet just stopped. Starting to lose it. All right, so this is cool, but it's definitely up. Maybe we could put a clamp on it and just hold the clamp and try to persuade it through this double-walled area. We're not trying to collapse the whole surface. So what I'm getting at is we're stressing this down, but this piece wants to come up, so it's gonna end up doing sort of a half and half because of the leverage in the end. That's what I'm choosing to do. I don't want to collapse the whole thing. You know, it'll tend to turn upside down if you put too much stress in it. Now you'll notice this welder popping back and spitting a lot because I have it turned down. Very, very cool. This short circuit I mentioned, the short circuit weld is appropriate for thin metal. You can look that up in your book of terminology. It's a little bit low right here. Before you fill it up with weld, you got your opportunity now because each tack weld will stretch. I'm not messing with this, but this is high. That's trouble. Let's go in with the grinder. Let's chop a big hole through there. Try to get this to match that. Now we know when these come down, they're overlapping right now, but they're gonna come together. So you want a pretty decent gap between the two. Cutting right to that weld, got a nice gap. I'm gonna take a thicker disc and run it halfway up that. Now the other one I mentioned, which is just a little bit beefier. saying? Now we got a gap in there. As we close that, it's gonna shrink it. See that? Lovely. Here, I think. Let's do some major grip on there. There's a piece underneath. Feel it. I think I'm gonna sheet it right here. There it is. Oh, look at that. I'm gonna shrink this with the weld. I'm gonna go right in. No mercy. Now, actually, maybe a little mercy. It's gotta come. There it is. Razor blade. Now, I'm really overdoing this. For a car that's gonna get body filler and the other level of fabrication I've done on this type of fit up is total overkill. That's a good lesson. All right, so let's just bring this together. Shrink it hard. And that starts to burn through. Nice and hot, you'll burn through, but that means it's annealed. So we'll start right on the other side of that hole. We'll keep it relatively cool here. You see, on the apex of these curves, I will weld it fully. Okay. Notice we closed that gap up a lot. Sure did. Let's get in there and see what we can do again. All right, see what I'm saying? We got a way to go still. We'll bring this down into that. Boy, howdy. That's a good pull. That's a 1/2 inch drop. I think we could do it. Wish I had one of these with longer teeth on the end, a little longer extension. Oh no, there it is. All right, it's gonna be a little bit of a, oh, there it is. There it is, and of course I don't have my welder in my hand or my glasses. In a perfect world, I would weld that, but in this world, we're gonna try again. As the old saying goes, that which hath been done shall be done again. So there's a ton of pressure in this right now, right? And I'm collapsing everything. So I'm gonna let it up. And this is gonna wanna pull that up. So I'm gonna hammer this, and it usually comes back. I got there. Cool. So I'm going to start at the bottom. So satisfying, and that goes right down into your sock. I want this strong, and I want this to pull down, so I'm going right through. Yes, sirree. Let's close that hole. Now that it's cooled off. Sweet. So this is warped a bit because it's hot. I'm gonna let that cool off, but it's annealed, so I'm gonna let that just fall into shape. Fix it once it cools down a little bit. No, I'm starting to get ahead of myself. This is gonna have to stay with the car. This can't open. So let's just stop right here with this. You know we're gonna shave this drip rail off. Push this down low. So the drip rail is a couple panels coming together. why I really try to be secure around that. When I cut it off later, it's going to stretch out. All right, let's go between these. And that is the key to sheet metal welding, especially on roof skins. There's a lot of stress in them. There's a lot of area to cover. Keep your welds minimal. With purpose. This has got to come up, so I'll let that completely cool down and work it another time. I'm feeling this now. How are you guys feeling? It's a better line for the window all around. I think the windshield doesn't look like it's raised up too high. And this Beetle-esque front window opening, laid back windshield, makes it look racier. I would not be one to consider the Beetle streamlined from the factory. Although it does have that 30s Art Deco streamliner. Look at this. Just looky here. Get that welder out of the way. And I'm starting to get excited now. You can really see the difference. See how this flag is way up in the air here? We're going to do the same and draw it down, streamline just like this. That window opening is just right. I'm stoked. It's like a weight's been lifted. I gotta say, this car looks like it's going 1,000,000 miles an hour, standing still. Well, that is if it didn't have a flat tire and half a roof. But either way, progress is progress. Thanks for joining us. What are we doing next? Find out then. Come on back. Ooh la la!